So, quick follow-up on my post earlier from many of you that I provided of me being ejected out of my place, my apartment. On August the 20th, 2025, I was awakened by a Fulton County Marshal saying that they had in their possession a writ of dispossession that gave them authorization to take my property out of my apartment.
Give you an update on the nursing video that I did a few weeks back about the poor people that were in the nursing home that were forced to be evicted. I also want to talk about two news stories that are happening. One was a motel where people had to be evicted from there for a cause that you're going to find out wild.
Okay, y'all, let's talk about the eviction process in Georgia, or at least how mine went. I am behind rent for May and for June. We'll talk about that towards the end.
Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and today we're going to be talking about eviction, losing a home, facing uncertainty. Eviction is a painful reality for many families struggling to keep up with the rent. It often means losing not just a home but a sense of security. The stress of finding a new place adds to financial and emotional hardship. Behind every eviction notice is a story of struggle and resilience. Without further ado, guys, let's dive into the videos and watch.
So, quick follow-up on my post earlier from many of you that I provided of me being ejected out of my place, my apartment. On August the 20th, 2025, I was awakened by a Fulton County Marshal saying that they had in their possession a writ of dispossession that gave them authorization to take my property out of my apartment and put it outside on the ground. Some of those items have been stolen and damaged, and not stolen by strangers or bystanders, but where I immediately placed my personal items in a U-Haul while everything was in plain sight. And upon retrieving the items out of the U-Haul, realized that I had some valuable things missing. This is not what this video is about. The video is just a follow-up because I need everyone to realize that Fulton County, and this hurts my heart to say, government in some sense is causing homelessness. Now, typically if someone is put out of their home, you as a person think, oh, they had a warning or they did this or they did that. No, I'm not a perp. I am not the person that, you know, I'm just not more special than anyone. But one thing that I am is I'm honest. I pay attention. I do what I'm supposed to do. And there was no legal right that landlord had to remove my personal property. So let's talk about that. And this is the end of this video. Fulton County showed up to my unit with an illegal document. Did you hear what I said? I said illegal. I asked her, I said, hey, she says, I have a piece of paper and you're being evicted. She's a marshal. She has the authority. She has on the Fulton County Marshal uniform. I can't argue with that. Even though I could argue with it, it's not smart to do so. I said, hey, let me see what you have. She took the paper and she held it to her chest. She said, you'll see it after we remove your things from the house. So we're going to fast forward now, going through all of that. But I said, so you're evicting me, but you're not going to show me the legal document that allows you and authorizes you to do this. She said, I can show it to you, but I cannot give you a copy of it, which seemed weird to me because anytime you take a legal act, you give the person, there are like three copies or something that you give the person or have served the person or something so that they will have proof. So if you evict me and you walk away, I don't have any proof that a marshal walked to my door and evicted me because you didn't give me anything and I never received anything. So she said no. She said, you can take a picture of the document that I have, and I took a picture of it. Long story short, my landlord lied and said that they filed a writ of dispossession in May and that I was served in May. I wasn't served, and they're in court right now. I'll post that video next week of them lying. And when the writ was issued to Fulton County and given to the sheriff or whatever, the sheriff has 30 days to execute that eviction. They didn't do it. And if the 30 days is exhausted, they're supposed to reapply for another one. Y'all did in 90 days. That writ was invalid. And that judge that they put on that writ, she didn't agree to that. I know she didn't. And here's the thing. I told the marshal, I said, don't do this because it's illegal. So I'm in an Airbnb courtesy of a very dear friend of mine. Got to go next week and file some motions into court. And the takeaway from all of this is that, am I a bad person? No. Am I lazy? No. Am I staying with a man or a boyfriend or something that, I should be able to help? No. I'm single. I've been single, don't get in my business, for quite some time. I am, a good person. This is not something that came back on me. This is just a clear example of an unfortunate time that we're in, where you have people representing the law and representing law enforcement wrongfully, and it's causing and offsetting our population and our mental health and our way of being. Thank God I don't have small children. Thank God I don't have, I had savings or something. And thank God I didn't have to go to work in the morning. Because if I had any of those things, this would have devastated someone that had those things going on in their life. And I just need the public to be aware that I want to believe that if a marshal shows up, that marshal's not lying to me. But this is where we are. And you have people that are now possibly homeless, and they should not be homeless because someone failed to follow the code of law and they misused their power and authority. A landlord did. And the landlord, the attorneys that work for the landlord, have an agreement with maybe Fulton County or Fulton County marshals, and they execute an illegal warrant of dispossession. I'm not a liar. You don't have to trust me. I'm just not a liar. And I've been waiting to be served because this landlord is a slum landlord, and I have actually would have won in court, and this would have been over in 2022 had they not circumvented the judge's decision. So what this landlord has decided to do is they're not going to go to court. They're above the law. And instead of the law in Fulton County enforcing the law and requiring landlords to abide by the law, they sided with them. And here we are. So y'all have a blessed day. And I'll keep y'all posted.
Yeah, interesting story. Decided to add the storytelling time right now in the beginning of the video. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Please like, share, subscribe. It's really important for me to grow my channel. And let's dive to the next video and watch, guys.
If you're broke in America right now, these are 10 more cities where life is getting actively dangerous. Not just hard, dangerous. And after I posted the first list, another creator asked, wait, how is Oklahoma not on there? That's a fair question. It almost was, and it's here now. This is part 2, cities 11 through 20. At number 20, Anchorage, Alaska. One of the highest homelessness rates per capita. Shelter shortages, and if you sleep outside in winter, you're gambling with your life. Number 19 is Memphis, Tennessee. Evictions are brutal here. Public housing is disappearing, and grocery stores are fleeing low-income neighborhoods. Number 18 is Charleston, West Virginia. Wages are stuck, overdose rates are rising, and hospitals across the state are closing in poor areas. Number 17 is Fresno, California. It's California, but without the funding. Agriculture wealth on one side, hunger and housing insecurity on the other. Number 16 is Chicago, Illinois. This one's complicated, but rent hikes, school closures, and aggressive policing are making life a nightmare for poor black and brown neighborhoods. Number 15 is Salt Lake City, Utah. Massive rent increases, gentrification, and one of the worst shelter gaps in the Mountain West. Number 14 is Albuquerque, New Mexico. Eviction court is booming. Tent sweeps are daily, and there's almost no mental health infrastructure for the poor. Number 13 is Detroit, Michigan. Still struggling from decades of disinvestment, water shutoffs, rising rent, and entire blocks left to rot. Number 12 is Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Sky-high eviction rates, no right to shelter, and some of the worst rural healthcare access in the country. And at number 11, Baltimore, Maryland. Crumbling housing, food deserts, closed clinics, and systematic neglect in poor neighborhoods.
Yeah, pretty interesting rating, guys. I just decided to add the ratings. And I hope you do appreciate this, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you like such format, storytelling videos, which is a little bit longer, and such interesting ratings. Okay, guys, let's dive into the next video and watch.
All right, so check it out. I don't want to waste your time. I want to give you an update on the nursing video that I did a few weeks back about the poor people that were in the nursing home that were forced to be evicted. I also want to talk about two news stories that are happening. One was a motel where people had to be evicted from there for a cause that you're going to find out wild. And then the third one is about an assisted living place that was starting to become the beginnings of Willowbrook. And if you don't know what Willowbrook is, I'm going to post it in the comments so you can take a look at that. But anyway, so the first nursing home I want to talk about is the Northfield. It was in Rochester, New York, okay? And residents there were given a time to get out of there, literally either to find another nursing home that would take them, stay with their family, and if worse came to worse, they were going to be put in a shelter. Now, a lot of people advocated that putting elderly people in a shelter was going to be against their health. So they decided to keep the place open just barely until the last resident can leave. That's the update now. So there's only 3 people remaining there. They're still looking for adequate shelter besides going into an actual shelter. So that's the good part there. Like, they weren't really forced out, which is great. Another place I want to talk about is the Howard Johnson Motel in Orlando, Florida. So on August 17th, they were served a notice saying that their motel was condemned. Now, here's the kicker. They had all just paid rent to the property manager. When they got served a notice saying that the building was condemned by Department of Health from their county, the cash register, the employees were all gone. Okay? No one was there. So it seems that the property manager had not been paying the water bill, had not been paying the electric bill, and also dismantled all the fire alarms on the property. Now check this out, okay? As they were getting evicted, this guy had the audacity to show up. Let me tell you something. If a property manager shows up after doing something like this, the only thing that he's managing after that day is his heart monitor. I'm gonna be honest with you, all right? Now the third one, and I mentioned Willowbrook, is because there was an assisted living community in Ridgewood, South Carolina. It was called South Winds. They were getting multiple violations from 2024, okay? But somebody finally went down there to see if things had been put into place. And what they had found was 5 residents locked in, unattended, okay? Now, this is literally just a newer story. And they have been found places to go. The same thing with the Howard Johnson Motel. Coalition of Homeless came in and helped them find places so that they wouldn't be scattered on the streets. So the ombudsman for mental health came in and helped these people find places. But the fact that they were locked in a facility, and it says for over 24 hours, unattended, is crazy. Now, that's why I mentioned Willowbrook. Willowbrook, if no one knows, used to be an old mental hospital back in the 70s. I think Geraldo Rivera was his name, or Donahue, one of the two. They did a whole piece on it because it was literally people who had mental health issues that were left unattended, left in squalor for a continuous amount of times. Why does this matter? Okay. With everything that's going on between the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, the fact that places are shutting down, the fact that no one can take care of themselves, let alone their old family members, which are now rejoining their community, they're not financially able to handle that. This is what's going to happen when other facilities open up. I mean, the same thing, like it almost happened with Alligator Alcatraz, but the federal judge stepped in and said, hey, listen, no, this needs to be defunct in 60 days, which is a great win for us. However, if this guy continues to sit there and pull all these people, they're going to have no choice but to open up other facilities. And I guarantee you, with the fact that there isn't that many jobs to begin with, and when these new places open up, people are not going to want those jobs because it's going to be hell, okay? They're going to be short-staffed from the go. And it's going to already be another part of history repeating itself. Besides that, we're pretty much, even Germany's asking us, are we okay? That should be a big sign. But now this is another atrocity that we're repeating again that could easily be resolved. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I wanted to bring an update for the nursing home, the story that I did before, give you 2 more stories to think about. And as always, guys, be safe out there.
Yeah, interesting thoughts about this whole stuff, guys. and that's why I decided to add this gentleman thoughts in our show, guys. So what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments below. I will be very happy to read them all. And please like, share, subscribe. It's really, really important, guys. Trying to grow this channel. I hope you do appreciate this, guys. And let's dive to the next video and watch.
Okay, y'all, let's talk about the eviction process in Georgia, or at least how mine went. I am behind rent for May and for June. We'll talk about that towards the end. So May 1st came, I didn't have rent. They gave me until the 3rd to pay rent without a $200 fee, which is like a late fee. And then after the late fee, if you go past the 8th or 9th, I believe, on the 10th day is when they go and they file for eviction. I was served papers on the 27th, I want to say. I think it was the 27th. I was given the papers. They came on my door, and then after that, I got an email like maybe a week later from that, and then after I received another email that told me when my court date was, which was the other day. It was June 11th. So what ended up happening is I showed up to court. I was nervous, I was scared, and I honestly was confused. I thought that the attorney that they have on your eviction papers is the attorney, like a state's attorney that's going to represent you. Not true. I had been applying to try to get like legal aid and didn't get a call back, so, or at least not a call back in time to have someone like represent me during this situation. Okay, so the attorney that they have is for the apartment complex. It's not for me. But it was a Zoom Zoom court. So broke out in a group to talk to the attorney, explain like, everything I've been dealing with. And he's like, that, I'm very empathetic to what you've been dealing with. I totally understand it's been hard, but that's basically not a legal case. So they told me that they were going to give me until the 25th to have May and June paid. But after that, if I don't pay, then they're going to then apply for the writ of possession. They said that if the apartment complex decided to hire their own marshal, then it would give me it's about a 2-week process before like I have to like officially move out. But then if they didn't hire a like a private marshal or whatever, an off-duty marshal, then it could take up to 30 days. Long story short, it is a process. But now here we are. Like I've been telling y'all, I've been really working on my mindset. Law of assumption has really healed a lot of my views. I've really changed the way that I think. I'm a lot more optimistic, and I just trust that everything's going to work out for me exactly the way that I want it to, if not better. But the way that I want it to work out is for me to be able to keep my apartment. I don't want to live in a different place. I don't want to have to go through the process of moving, because if you know me, you know that I busted my ass to get this apartment. So I want to be able to enjoy the fruits of my labor. I want to be able, even if God had a mansion ready for me right this second, but he said you have to let go of your apartment. I know it sounds crazy, but this is what I want because I worked so incredibly hard for it. Like, I deserve to be able to bask in the what I earned. Like, so that's just where I'm at. I don't know how my rent is going to be paid still to this day. I don't know the how, I don't know the who, I don't know the when, I don't know the where, but I know the will and I know the have. I know that it will happen and I know that it has happened. I don't know anything outside of that. So I am going to do my part, and if you do feel compelled to donate, I'm going to link my Cash App. The total that I owe is for 2 months, and this includes 2 $200 late fees, and includes, they charge you $500 for a filing fee for eviction. So it's like an extra $1,000 tacked on to what I already owed. But my total is $39.94, I believe. So yeah, I have about 1,000 of that. If you guys could help in any way, whether that's sharing, whether that's commenting, like getting this out there, like anything, if you could donate, if you have it to donate, I appreciate it. Like anything. I want to keep my apartment. I worked so hard for this. Things are moving. Things are really moving in my life. I'm so grateful. I'm so just like, I feel like I am detached from things for the most part. Even my apartment, like if I do lose it, it is what it is. I'm not that attached to it. But ideally, I do want to keep my place of residence.
Interesting lady, you know, I decided to add her in this show just to show you her thoughts about that. So let me know what you think about that. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. And we will see you in the next one. Like always, guys, be safe and bye for now.